right, good evening and welcome to Breaking Today. My name is Frederick Muitedidi. My sign language interpreter tonight is Teresia Washira, and we're being told that the president might be speaking to the nation anytime from now, but these are our highlights. President Uhuru Kenyatta meets Ukambani leaders and promised to visit the region at a later date after postponing his earlier scheduled visit. It's all systems go for tomorrow's interview of the new IEBC commissioners. And offenders subjected to mandatory death penalty can now appeal, declares the new Chief Justice, Martha Koome. All right, welcome to the broadcast, and you can find us on YouTube at Switch TV News. We are live there, so you can stream the news live. Now, we start off with Supreme Court, where death penalty is still applicable on discretionary maximum punishment of cases. This is according to Chief Justice Martha Koome speaking during the inaugural sitting at the Supreme Court of Kenya after she was appointed Chief Justice. Those facing charges against treason, robbery with violence, attempted robbery with violence can still be sentenced to death. Koome has, however, said offenders feeling aggrieved by the mandatory death penalties can appeal for a resentencing hearing. Caroline Soma with that story.
Yes, I can. Senior counsel.
Chief Justice Martha Koome has today sat for the first time at the Supreme Court hearing cases since her appointment. Among the cases she handled was the famous Muruetetu case where two convicts, Francis Muruetetu and Wilson Mwangi, had been sentenced to death and appealed their judgment, terming it as unconstitutional. Koome, during the hearing, said death sentence judgments still stand on the most rare cases. However, offenders subjected to mandatory death penalties can appeal for a sentencing hearing.
For avoidance of doubt, this decision does not outrule the death penalty, which is still applicable as a discretionary maximum punishment. We therefore reiterate that this court's decision in Muruetetu did not invalidate mandatory sentences or minimum sentences in the penal code.
Muruetetu and his fellow convict judgment still stands. They are serving a life sentence.
The two petitioners we have since learned were presented before the High Court. Their resentencing was heard. Therefore, we make no further comments on them. They have already benefited from this judgment.
The course during hearing and judgment of murder cases include all offenders who have been subjected to mandatory death penalties and desire to be heard on sentence will be entitled to resentencing hearing. And if an appeal is pending before the Court of Appeal, the High Court will entertain an application for resentencing upon being satisfied that the appeal has been withdrawn. In resentencing hearing, the court must record the prosecutions and the appellant's submission under Section 329 of the Criminal Procedure Code, as well as those of the victims before deciding on the suitable sentence. An application for resentencing arising from a trial before the High Court can only be entertained by the High Court, which has jurisdiction to do so, and not the subordinate court. Other factors guiding the court include age of the offender, when one is a first-time offender, whether the offender pleaded guilty, the character of the offender, manner of the offense, remorsefulness of the offender, among others. Koome has also assured Kenyans of independence during dispensing of judgment as directed by the Constitution. Caroline Suma, Switch TV.
Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta has today held a consultative meeting with leaders from the Lower Eastern region, comprising of the counties of Kitui, Machakos and Makueni, over his tour of the Eastern region, which will now take place at a later date that is yet to be made public. The change of dates come hours after his planned tour of the region was cancelled over fears of COVID-19 spread. The delegation was led by former Vice President Kalonzo Musyoka and Wiper Party leader Kitui Governor Charity Ngilu, Machakos Governor Alfred Mutua, Makueni Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., Kitui Senator Enoch Wambua, Machakos Senator Agnes Kavindu, and other leaders serving in both houses of Parliament. Also present was Health Cabinet Secretary Mutahi Kagwe, his counterpart in Internal Security Fred Matiang'i, Head of Public Service Joseph Kinyua, and more than 15 other CSs. All right. The oral interviews for 36 shortlisted candidates who had applied to fill the 4 vacant commissioners' positions in the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission IEBC is set to commence tomorrow. The 4 positions were left vacant after 4 commissioners resigned after the 2017 general elections. The 7-member panel, led by Elizabeth Muli, will be vetting the 36 among 660 who had shown interest in the positions. The panel will be considering an equal representation of ethnicity, gender, and religion. Preparations are currently underway at the KICC, where the vetting will be conducted starting tomorrow. Now, in other matters, security leaders from the Samburu community, led by Samburu Governor Moses Lennon Kulal, have strongly condemned what they term as shooting of trespassing livestock by security officers. The leaders have also called upon the Ministry of Interior and Devolution to come in and aid in ending the clashes in the region, as David Kagina now reports.
According to leaders from Samburu County, the current arid conditions have led to diminishing of pasture, drying of boreholes and other water sources, and those migrating to alternative grazing areas beyond their borders are facing hostility from their neighboring communities.
As leadership, we want to urge ourselves, both Samburu and Isiolo leadership, that we move to the ground and talk to our people. Because the conflict is resource-based, particularly pasture and lack of water, and going forward, we'll still experience those skirmishes as long as we don't undertake peace initiatives as leadership. Apportioning blame will not help.
Water is a very big issue there. There is only one river there, which all the pastoralists go and take water there. But that is where the friction is, and we are ready to talk together with our people to maintain peace, because drought will be there for a very long time anyway.
Kusema ukweli ni kiangazi tu ndio inafukuza watu kwenda. Ukiona watu wanatoka kaunti yao kwenda kaunti nyingine ni kutafuta maji na kutafuta nyasi. Tunazungumzia pia watu wetu, ili kama ingewezekana, na hata tungependa kuwaomba wale ambao wako kwa mashamba na wako kwa mahali kuna nyasi saa hizi, ili tuweze kuzungumza, kwa sababu hii ni kwa muda tu, na kukinyesha watu watarudi kwao na mifugo yao na watu waendelee kuishi kwa amani.
According to the governor, Samburu County, over 100,000 residents are feeling the heat of the drought, with 4 having lost their lives to the clashes in the area.
Na vita ya Isiolo sio ya community moja, ni ya community zote, kwa sababu kila community amepoteza watu. Samburu pia wamepoteza watu 8 karibu mwezi moja, na wengine wako hospitali mpaka saa hii. Kwa hivyo tunataka kusema, kulingana na vile leaders wa Isiolo waliongea, ni muhimu kukutana na kuelewa ni nini inafanyika.
Watu wetu wanaumia. Hakuna wakati mtu hapana. Wavijana wengi wamekufa, wamewawa. Kwa sababu gani? Kwa sababu serikali yetu is not proactive. Inakuwa tu reactive. Inaangoja tu watu wapigane ndio wanakimbia hapo.
The fight between pastoralist communities has been with us for long, These being attributed to two main factors, one being cattle rustling, and now the recent one, which is natural calamities. Most of these communities fighting for water sources and greener pastures, and their leaders are now calling for the government to bring them to a sit-down where they can get to agree who feeds where. David Kagina, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, David. Now, there was drama at the Nairobi-Namanga highway after more than 200 boda operators closed a section of the highway after one of their colleagues was brutally murdered. The body of the motorcycle operator was found in Kajiado and his motorcycle stolen. The operators have said more than 10 of their colleagues have been murdered or disappeared in the last 1 month. Sazamunga reports.
Drama erupted in the Namanga-Nairobi highway today after boda operators decided to take it to the streets, protesting over increased cases of insecurity in the area after one of their own was brutally murdered and his motorcycle stolen. Transportation and business activities along the Namanga-Nairobi highway came to a standstill for the better part of the day after the operators decided to block the main road, lighting tires and parking their motorcycles in the middle of it. Police officers were forced to take matters into their own hands to disperse the irate crowd using tear gas canisters. Kajiado Central Sub-County Commander Police David Loronyokwe has backed the remarks on rampant insecurity in the region and has urged boda operators not to operate in the wee hours of the night.
Leo pia tumepata janga lingine ambaye boda moja tumepata miwawa hapa kwetu, na tuna suspect ni watu tu wamehaya yeye baada kufika hapa katikati wakakuja wakamuua. Tumeweka mkakati kwamba tutatrace tuhakikishe tumepata hiyo watu, na tuna suspect kwamba there is syndicate ya watu ambaye wameanza janga hilo.
Boda operators expressed their dismay over the lack of insecurity in the region, saying motorcycle theft has been on the rise with over 10 bodas stolen in the last 1 month alone.
So tunasikia vibaya sana sisi kama mabeste zake, watu wa Nduthi in general. Wale wanasikia vibaya sana. Unapata juzi pia kuna mtu mwingine alipigwa to the same, bike yake imeenda.
Kuna uwezekano watu wa watu credit ambao wanapeana hizi bike. Tunafikiria na tunaona kama inaweza kuwa moja yapo ya njia ambazo zinafanya hii uhalifu.
Bado security huko hakuna. Kwanza hizi majunction hizi huku, hii barabara kwanza imaroro hizi majunction kunafaa kuwekwa hata patrol, at least makarao na patrol huku usiku, unaona? Ndio hata mtu wa pikipiki ukipita uone ndio ile Land Cruiser hapa, uko na ile confidence sitaumizwa hapa mbele.
Sazamunga, Switch TV.
All right, thank you, Saza. Now we are taking a short commercial break. We'll be back with more in a short while. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back. We are live on YouTube, a channel that is Switch TV News. You can find us there. We're streaming live. Now, moving on. The National Hospital Insurance Fund, that is NHIF, Chairman Lewis Nguyai has said that the insurer is running losses due to several dormant accounts. Currently, the country has 10.4 million Kenyans registered with NHIF. However, only 5.1 million Kenyans are actively paying their monthly contributions. Sheila Ngetich filed this report.
A bill tabled in Parliament seeks to make it compulsory for Kenyans 18 and above to enroll and contribute 500 shillings per month to the primary state insurer.
Returns in KRA, but wanataka nitoe pesa ya kulipa NHIF. Where am I going to get it?
Consequently, NHIF, in its quest to fulfill the Big Four agenda, is seeking to register more people. But just how logical is it to register more people, yet more than half of those registered are dormant? How do the losses come about with the dormant accounts?
So for an insurance company, you want to have a big pool of contributors so that you can have enough funding so that you're able to pay for all the services that are there.
Challenges faced by Kenyans when accessing health services are prompting the slow response in actively contributing.
When you have less members contributing and more people who are claiming for benefits in terms of when they are seeking services, it means that you're paying more you're paying a lot for the services, but you're not able to get the funding from the people who are supposed to pay.
One question, however, is with the mass registration, how then are the services under the cover going to be affected?
Linking that to NHIF enables the government even to identify those who are vulnerable or indigent groups so that they're able to be funded or to be paid for services, because I believe that will be the nature of a social insurance, where those who are able to pay are identified and they pay mandatorily, and those who are not, government is able to subsidize.
Efforts by the government to merge all services under the Huduma card is expected to ease the reach of health services.
If majority of Kenyans are covered, it means that one, you will achieve universal health coverage where you'll be able to access health services, whether you're rich or poor. So, and then secondly is in terms of NHIF and itself being able to fund services. NHIF will be able to fund more services if more of us contribute, because the pool is bigger, so the amount of money they have is larger.
The defaulting of monthly NHIF contributions have been attributed to the tough times as a result of the pandemic. However, health experts continue to urge Kenyans to pay up in the event of sickness. Sheila Ngetich, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Sheila. Now, a perception by consumers that locally made products are inferior to imported one is fueling the love for substandard drugs, according to Anti-Counterfeit Authority ACA. As Flora Limuki reports, pharmaceuticals products remain to be the most counterfeited products in the country.
In recent months, counterfeit and substandard goods have flooded the Kenyan market, posing an unfair competition to the genuine products. The most counterfeited products are antibiotics and painkillers. This is according to Anti-Counterfeit Authority.
Counterfeiters target the first move in consumer goods. And of course, this includes also medicines. Because if we look at medicines, for example, medicine is a product that can be very profitable. You can bring in a small quantity of medicines and you make a lot of money. You know, people sometimes they can hide it maybe in their bags. You know, it's very easy to really conceal counterfeit and even substandard medicine. So that's why you find that counterfeiters would go for it, especially if it is a painkillers, you know, the mostly commonly used medicines, they would go for it.
Coupled with corruption and consumer ignorance, counterfeit drugs have seen consumer health put at risk while manufacturers count losses. According to the Anti-Counterfeit Authority, illicit trade remains to be a big challenge towards the attainment of 15% GDP contribution by the manufacturing sector, with the country losing close to 1 trillion Kenyan shillings annually to counterfeit goods.
The volume of illicit goods was 726 billion Kenya shillings in the year 2017, and it increased to 826 billion Kenya shillings in the year 2018. An increase of 100 billion in just 1 year. On the statistics that we have, we find that counterfeiting constitutes around 10%, around 9% of the total illicit goods.
The Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, is backing a multi-sectoral approach to minimize illicit trade.
Okay, here in KEBS, we have a two-pronged process in terms of the quality assurance of the products that are in the market. One is the product certification. In the product certification, we have the issue of certification of the product at the factory level, where now officers go to the factory premises, they collect samples of those products, and they are brought to KEBS for testing to check whether they're in conformity to the relevant Kenyan standard.
Trade in counterfeit and substandard goods remains to be a major challenge in Kenya, despite many legal and institutional efforts to curb it. Flora Limuki, Switch TV.
I was enjoying Flora Limuki. All right, it's time for business. All right, a lack of awareness in rural areas has been cited as the biggest challenge by youth in connecting with Ajira digital program that empowers youth to earn decent income from digital and digitally enabled jobs. According to Information and Communication Technology Minister Joe Mushero, over 7 million Kenyans have been made aware of Ajira Digital, while 1.2 million others are already working online 6 years since inception of the program in the country. Among us, the 1.2 million Kenyans, over 20,000 have acquired their jobs directly through the ministry's connections. In terms of referrals, over 60,000 youths have been trained already, as the ministry has opened 350 Ajira youth empowerment centers nationally. Majority of them have acquired the jobs in the judiciary, where they do transitions.
Members of Parliament who have the Constituency Development Fund. So already in the 290 constituencies, we have members of Parliament who are aware of the program and what we're doing. So they just need to come with us. We've given them an opportunity to have 4 centers that we can provide the free internet, we can provide the devices, we can provide the training and support that is required in managing these centers. And so with members of Parliament, they're the ones with the grassroots.
All right. Kenya Electricity Generating Company, KENGEN, is set to gain 110 million shillings from 559.81 carbon credits points attained through its Clean Development Mechanism, CDM, project gearing up to promoting cleaner ways of producing energy. This follows the insurance of additional 309,495 certified emission reductions from the organization's All-Carrier 2 CDM project by the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, bringing the total amount of issued carbon credits to 559.81. CDM was developed as part of the output of a global concern to contribute to climate change mitigation and to foster sustainable development for non-industrialized countries. The company aims at additional geothermal, wind and solar projects which will reduce between 100,000 to 600,000 carbon emissions every year. Well, Narok County farmers have been urged to embrace climate-smart agriculture for the sake of improving their yields as global warming effects continue to change the environment. The county has heavily ventured into maize and wheat, is looking at reduced crop yields in 2 crops this year. The dip being articulated to low rainfall and increasing quelea buds and locust. Narok Chief for Agriculture David Letuati has said the county government has already started spraying the pesticide in Oloruto and parts of Mount Narok in a bid to cushion farmers from quelea buds. Letuati noted that discussion on various stakeholders are ongoing to address issues of climate change as the country continues to experience prolonged rains and prolonged drought. All right, and from the world of business, it's time for sports. Kenya's representative in the inaugural Sekafa Championship, Vihiga Queens FC, will move to